In many cultures and countries, through the plethora of centuries, bees, especially honeybees, have always been loved, respected, and treasured as a special phenomenon. A phenomenon created by God in nature, and owning the inborn ability to not only produce honey as a product, but also owning the inborn ability to create a certain community where every member knows and follows its rules, responsibilities, duties, and rights. So many continental similarities with the communities of people who also have certain rules, responsibilities, duties, and rights. A bee has the inborn instinct of self-sacrifice to protect its community. Does a human being have the same instinct? Most probably, not always. Most probably, human beings more often remember their rights and duties and responsibilities. Most probably, human beings have so much to learn from nature. Bees have much to teach us. They fascinate us, they are beautiful, and their importance to mankind is beyond measure. Indeed, bees, honeybees in particular, are the most studied creatures by humans after mankind.
Today, while presenting one of the TED Talks, I would like to express my humble gratitude for this wonderful opportunity to share some knowledge about bees and honey. Thus, my colleague and I will try to highlight the context of our speech devoted for the theme honey, which, of course, is inseparable from bees. Honey and bees are considered to be a part of Lithuanian national heritage, a treasure that had its long and rich history, a phenomenon that has to be not only remembered but also to be valued and gifted to the future generations. This is why we strongly believe that keeping bees and producing honey deserve to be called a part of Lithuanian national heritage, which has the future perspectives.
The general information about honey. Honey is a sweet, viscous food substance made by honeybees and some related insects. Bees produce honey from the sugary secretions of plants or from secretions of other insects, such as honeydew, by regurgitation, enzymatic activity, and water evaporation. Bees store honey in wax structures called honeycombs. The variety of honey produced by honeybees is the best known, due to its worldwide commercial production and human consumption. Honey is collected from wild bee colonies or from hives of domesticated bees, a practice known as beekeeping or apiculture. Honey gets its sweetness from the monosaccharides fructose and glucose and has about the same relative sweetness as table sugar. It has attractive chemical properties for baking and a distinctive flavor when used as a sweetener. Most microorganisms do not grow in honey, so sealed honey does not spoil, even after thousands of years. 15 milliliters or 1 US tablespoon of honey provides around 190 kilojoules or 46 kilocalories of food energy. French honey from different floral sources with visible differences in color and texture. Honey use and production have a long and varied history as an ancient activity. Several cave paintings in Spain depict humans foraging for honey at least 8,000 years ago.
Honey is produced by bees collecting nectar and honeydew for use as sugars consumed to support metabolism of muscle activity during foraging or to be stored as a long-term food supply. During foraging, bees access part of the nectar collected to support metabolic activity of flight muscles, with the majority of collected nectar destined for regurgitation, digestion, and storage of honey. In cold weather, or when other food sources are scarce, adult and larval bees use storage honey as food. By contriving for bee swarms to nest in human-made hives, people have been able to semi-domesticate the insects and harvest excess honey. In the hive or in a wild nest, the three types of bees are a single female queen bee, a seasonal variable number of male drone bees to fertilize new queens, from 20,000 to 40,000 female worker bees.
Food. Over its history as a food, the main uses of honey are in cooking, baking, desserts, as a spread on bread, as an addition to various beverages such as tea, and as a sweetener in some commercial beverages. Due to its energy density, honey is an important food for virtually all hunter-gatherer cultures in warm climates, with the Hadza people ranking honey as their favorite food.
Kinds of honey. Honey is made by bees from collected nectar and melliferous dew. Nectar or blossom honey collected from one kind of plants is called monofloral, and collected from different plants, polyfloral. Monofloral honey's biological influence for the organism is not the same.
Are Lithuanians obsessed with bees and honey? Lithuanians don't speak about bees grouping together in a colony like English speakers do. Instead, the word for human family, shema, is used. In the Lithuanian language, there are separate words for death depending on whether you're talking about people or animals, but for bees, and only for bees, the former is used. And if you want to know a newfound Lithuanian pal what a good friend they are, you might please them by calling them bičiulis, a word roughly equivalent to mate, which has its root in bite, bee. In Lithuania, it seems a bee is like a good friend and a good friend is like a bee.
Raw honey and sustainable beekeeping traditions date back to the 1st century in the Baltic region. Baltic honey is blessed by the long history and traditions of the rich beekeeping culture and the vast landscapes of wildflowers that are terrific for bees and other pollinators. Not many nations have such deep beekeeping roots in Lithuania. Let's immerse into it for a moment. The extent of beekeeping culture can be seen in the Lithuanian language too. Did you know that the Lithuanian language is considered to be the oldest surviving Indo-European language, and human beings have a relation with honeybees for the past 9,000 years? Therefore, there is a lot of relation and significance to this. Let's look into the main cultural elements. The term bee colony is widely used across the world as this British colonial culture, while in Lithuania people refer to as bee family. Moreover, Lithuanians prefer to call their queen bee as the mother bee. This makes sense as she is the one to lay eggs and to raise many generations of bees.
And let's not forget the beekeepers too. There's a beautiful Lithuanian word bičiulis, and it is a separate word from the term beekeeper, which means a bee friend. This word comes from the times when your local beekeeper was climbing up the tree to get that beautiful local honey for you. Used to refer to someone you got a swarm of bees from or someone who is sharing his experience of bees. However, nowadays people widely use this word to simply call their very good friends. Furthermore, mythology and mysticism adds a big cultural value to beekeeping. In the old days, when the Baltics were still pagan, there were gods and goddesses associated to bees. Baltic folk used to sacrifice their pure honey to Bubilas, the god of bees and honey, and young ladies would pray to Ostea, the goddess of bees, who would care for married and pregnant women and would bless with fertility. Beekeeping customs till nowadays. Till this day, there are several customs that true bee lovers of Lithuania still do. As we already covered, all beekeepers are very well respected in the community. And due to their connection with the bees, there are some very important tasks to do for others whenever an old beekeeper passes away. People to this day go around the apiary, say a prayer, and knock each hive to let the little bees know that their beekeeper has passed away. But on the brighter side, there are also some happier beekeeping customs. There is a saying that all the animals start to speak during Christmas Eve. Thus, beekeepers go check on their hives if their bees are full on honey storage and if they are wintering well. This is done by giving a sharp knock on the side wall of a hive. If the bees buzz sharply and loud, then the colony is well, but if the buzz is prolonged or not even, then it is worth giving extra food to last the winter.
For many reasons, Lithuanians always make sure that each little pollinator friend is cared with great respect. We follow ethical and sustainable beekeeping practices, and we only use natural and ecological treatments for the bees. Baltic beekeeping traditions run deep in our roots. Whenever we go to the hives, first thing we give a few puffs to the entrance of the hive to say hello. Only then the top is opened up and we continue with our hive inspection. We keep our bees in clean and secluded environment, far from the main cities, surrounded by massive fields of wildflowers and forests. When harvesting the gold liquid, we always take only the excess of honey and we leave the rest for the bees themselves. Honey supports the immune system and has a lot of antibacterial properties. Therefore, plain sugar can never be food substance for the honeybees.
Once we take into consideration how much effort the bees give us to bring us a spoonful of honey, the least thing we want to do is to ruin the quality of natural honey. Raw honey retains all of its natural healing properties and over time crystallizes. This is a sign of pure honey. We believe in pure and organic honey practices. Our motto is Happy Bees, Happy World.
The keeping of bees is like following the direction of sunlight, and tasting a spoonful of honey with the pleasure and peace lets our body and soul feel an internal link with nature, with a part of the national heritage which deserves to be gifted to the future generations.